I mean, the British folk scene in the mid-60s was hugely influenced by the Americans in general, and in particular by Dylan. And just as it was in America, Dylan going electric at Newport in 1965 was a seminal moment. But then there were all these American singer-songwriters in London, people like Paul Simon and Jackson Frank. So there was this very strong American singer-songwriter influence, whether it was electric or acoustic, which, in a way, the British folk scene didn't really have at that point. I mean, it came from America. I mean, the British folk scene was still very much based in traditional material. There weren't many people around writing their own songs at that stage.
A regular at the Cousins Club, a favourite haunt of the American singer-songwriter community, Denny developed an ambition to write her own original material, and in late 1966, after a brief stint appearing with the Johnny Silvo Folk 4, she was invited to join Dave Cousins' folk trio, the Strawberry Hill Boys, later known as the Strawbs. The band swiftly recorded an album largely comprised of Cousins' own pop material, though the standout track was an original Denny composition, Who Knows Where the Time Goes.
The Strawbs were always a platform for the songs of Dave Cousins, and pretty well all the songs on that album are Cousins songs, which are very good. I mean, they fit nicely into that sort of folk, acoustic singer-songwriter movement that Sandy was very much a part of. Very pleasant, very nice. You know, it's intriguing to think what would have happened if she stayed with the Strawbs, because they of course became quite big in the early 70s. But the one thing that everyone remarks on of that Strawbs album, which features Sandy, was of course it marked the premiere of Who Knows Where the Time Goes, the first version of her best-known song, and she fitted in very well. I mean, it was quite a spontaneous thing. I mean, I remember Dave Cousins said he saw her sing. He saw Sandy singing at the Troubadour, and he said, you know, she looked and sang like an angel, and it was immediately he just said, you know, do you want to join my group? And said, yeah, okay, go on, and that was it. And it was just for this one album that they did in Sweden, because Cousins had a contact out there to get some cheap studio time, and. It's a really nice sounding record, and I think it gives an indication of it's almost sort of a Fairport sound. It's before Sandy joined Fairport, and her reading of Who Knows Where the Time Goes, it's not as confident as it would be when she came to record it a couple of years later. But there's obviously a real talent there, and of course the voice is just fantastic.
It's a staggering song for a young girl to have written. I mean, I guess it's born of that sort of first stirrings of equating one's emotions with the seasons and the natural world. What I think in literature, when people like Coleridge did it, they called it the pathetic fallacy, that there is some echo in our emotions of the elements and the natural world. You know, and that song is born of that.
Across the purple sky, all the birds are leaving, but how can they know it's time for them to go? Before the winter fire, I will still be dreaming. I have no thought of time. Well, who knows where the time goes? Who knows where the time goes? sad deserted shore. Your fickle friends are leaving. Ah, but then you know it's time for them to go. But I will still be here. I have no thought of leaving. I do not count the time. For who knows where the time goes? Who knows where the time and I'm not alone while my love is near me. I know it will be so until it's time to go. So come the storms of winter, and then the birds in spring again. I do not fear the time.